This is Larry Slagle with another political profile on Massillon Magazine. I'm here today with Susan Palmer. How are you doing, Miss Palmer?
I'm fine, Larry. How are you?
I'm pretty good today. And you're running for the 16th congressional seat that is currently held by Jim Renacci. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what got you involved in running for Congress?
Well, it was a mixed bag. My husband and I were a split marriage. I am a Democrat and he's a Republican. And when we looked to see who was running in the November timeframe, we were shocked. He looked at his side and found no one he would ever consider voting for. And I looked at my side and there was a lot of really good grassroots people, but no one that could run a campaign. So at that point, we had the discussion and I stepped up because my country needs me to step up.
And what type of campaign are you running?
Well, obviously, I'm a Democrat. I tend to run moderate. I grew up in the Youngstown area, and we really aren't crazy liberals in Youngstown, nor am I. I'm fiscally conservative, I'm practical, and I've spent 30 years in healthcare, and I think that's where we need some of the focus.
And you're married?
I've been married just shy of 20 years. I have 3 teenage boys. They are 13, 15, and 17.
And where do you reside?
We're in Westlake.
Now, the 16th district is one of those monstrosities that have been created through gerrymandering, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Why don't you let the viewers give an idea of what the 16th district, the geographical area in which you have to cover and what parts of the counties are included?
There's 6 total counties included. It's the bedroom communities of several counties. The western Cuyahoga County, so Westlake, Rocky River, goes down through Parma, picks up Strongsville, and many of the communities are divided. Half of Parma Heights, half of Parma. All of Strongsville goes down into Medina, Wadsworth, comes down into North Canton, kind of follows part of 77, and then goes 76 across to Greene, Mogador, Norton, grows east almost to Ravenna. So picks up Rootstown, where my dad used to work, Brimfield, that area there, and then heading west, it's all of Wayne County.
And what type of issues are you going to be discussing for the next 4 months?
Well, you know, and there are some variances in those counties. So in Wayne County right now, the tariffs are a big deal right now because I've got a lot of soybean and corn farmers, and they're getting really jerked around by the Chinese, knowing that their commodity prices are changing and fluctuating every day, sometimes affected by a tweet. They lose thousands of dollars. So it's a different conversation everywhere. Everyone's concerned about healthcare. Everyone. Everyone's concerned about the GOP tax cut. Didn't seem to help the working class, or certainly not the working poor at all. And everyone realizes it and they want an explanation. And
when you talk about these issues, what are your proposals to deal with them?
Well, you know, we borrowed $1.5 trillion through the GOP tax cut, right? That is an inflationary measure. When you borrow money and you add to the debt, you can raise inflation in the United States, and that's a dangerous thing to do in any economy, especially as long as we've been expanding. But they're not willing to raise the minimum wage, which is also an inflationary pressure. But raising the minimum wage would get a lot of people off our poverty programs, which you and I pay for.
What about health care?
Healthcare, I think we need to concentrate on reducing costs within healthcare. It's shocking to me the amount we pay for pharmaceuticals in this country compared to others. We go out to bid for all federal contracts. Building a bridge, it goes out to bid. But we don't do that with our pharmaceutical drugs, and we should.
Wasn't it part of the agreement that President Bush made back in the early 2000s?
That they were not allowed.
Yes.
Yes. Well, they weren't allowed to negotiate a price with the government. But going out to bid, the whole point of that is transparency. Okay. So it's not, you know, a donor situation.
And when you're out campaigning, what do? You hitting doors? You going to fairs?
I'm doing just about everything. It's very much a grassroots. Even in the primary, I was at over 200 events between the end of January and the beginning of May. I have a large family at home. I've drug all my cousins. You bet. We've been out there knocking doors. I had 6 events over the weekend. So, yeah, I'm out there.
And what's your past political experience?
I have no political past experience. I have 30 years in healthcare. I've run a business in the district, raised my family in the district. I do know this district and its problems. I've been treating patients up and down the whole corridor my whole life.
If someone were to come up to you and you were going to give them 3 reasons they should vote for you, what would they be?
I am your voice. I am from this community. I know what's wrong with the community. I know the issues that are permeating your lives. I live it with you.
You live it what?
I live it with them. I've been here for 18 years. I'm part of the community. When you bring someone from outside, you're not going to have that same understanding.
And obviously you haven't mentioned the current president much, so you're campaigning on your own abilities, not on perhaps what he may or may not be doing, I gather.
You know, my brother-in-law and my boss both voted for him, and these are two men I love and respect. For me, people had a binary choice. They had a choice to make, and they made it. So I don't think anybody was duped. I don't think anybody was stupid. They had a choice, and they made it.
What effect, when you say you'd raise the minimum wage, what would you raise it to?
Well, according to The Economist, if the wages had risen with our productivity over the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we'd be at about $12.30 an hour right now. We're obviously quite a bit lower than that. So I'm okay negotiating the number, but then I want it tied to inflation, so we have this conversation one more time.
And how would that affect the people that should be voting for you if you have convinced them of your plans and your hopes for the future?
Well, you know, I think the idea of the tax bill very much was if we give a lot of money back to companies, they will go out and raise wages. That was the hope. They crossed their fingers and they wished on a star, and it didn't work. You got a couple bonuses out of it, but you didn't get the raise in wages, and now the government needs to move forward and raise those wages.
And do you have a campaign manager or a website? How would, if people want to be involved, how would they get a hold of you?
Sure. Tom Bullock is my campaign manager. We have a very large presence. SusanPalmerForCongress.com is a very full website. You can see all the issues. You can see how to get a hold of me, how to volunteer. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter.
In terms of the future, are you optimistic, pessimistic? And if optimistic, why? And if pessimistic, why?
I am always optimistic in general. I think most things just need hard work, and I'm an elbow grease kind of girl. And I just think we need to buckle down and get it done and stop arguing, and the egos need to be checked. We need to move the country forward.
Well, that's sometimes easier said than done. So in your life experiences, what have you done that has given you that confidence that you can check your ego, but also talk to those that you're trying to convince of a position to also check their egos so things get accomplished?
Well, so I've worked in medicine, and there are a fair amount of egos when you work in medicine, and you learn to deal and hold your tongue and still move the ball forward. So it's a matter of teamwork and diplomacy, like it is in anything else. And as I've become more successful in life, there seems to be more men in the room, and I'm used to that as well. I don't take offense easily. I'm no problem focusing on my goal.
And education?
I started out, I worked my way up the ladder coming out of Youngstown. I started out as a radiology technologist. Salem Community Hospital was just far from here. And then my company that I worked for paid for me to finish my bachelor's in business at Baldwin Wallace.
Well, that's excellent. And where you currently reside, what high school is involved there?
All three of my sons, well, two are in high school at Westlake High, and I have one middle schooler still.
And your husband, what does he do?
He is a personal wealth manager in downtown Cleveland at Grease Financial.
Holy smokes. So
He's a Parma kid.
Well, we won't talk about Parma. When you talk about campaigning, what are the three issues then that people approach you with, saying, here's what we need help on? Obviously, one you said was healthcare.
Healthcare.
What are the other two?
I've got a lot of moms approaching me on gun violence, reduction in gun violence, very much so. And I really care for the phrase live wait, but I do think the...
And how would you address the last two issues then?
I have a very good gun violence policy. Gun violence in this country isn't just about the mass school shootings, which have pulled on all our hearts. We lose a lot of people in 6 or more shootings, which is the definition of a mass shooting, and a lot of it wraps around 3 central issues. One, there are domestic violence issues. Many of them, over half, are domestic violence issues. The second one is the assailant gives a warning. Facebook, Twitter, in person to the police, they warn somebody. And the third, the people that shouldn't have guns, criminals, previous felons, people on restraining orders, illegal immigrants, terrorists flying into our country, they know how to get the weapons. They know they can go to gun shows. They know they can go online and not worry about a background check. So we need to fix those loopholes to address a fair amount of it. And remember, we're losing veterans, U.S. veterans, at a high suicide rate coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq.
And what about the wealth differential?
I think the raise the minimum wage is a place to start, and I really would like to go back. I'm going to throw something at you from Governor Rhodes when he made a statement that he wanted to focus on education. We had a program in place in this state and at the federal level where we encouraged our community to increase their education, to climb that education ladder, because they knew this was coming. And right now we don't have, or we've gutted federal and state funding for secondary education, training, and vocation.
Well, sounds like you've got a lot of ideas, and you'll find it at your website, which is?
SusanPalmerForCongress.com.
And is there anything else you would like to tell the listening audience and viewing audience before we end today?
I am your voice, and I need to be your representative in Congress. Thank you.
Okay, this has been Larry Slagle with Susan Palmer running for the 16th Congressional District. That's the U.S. Congress. And this has been another political profile from Massillon Magazine.